Today we will see Liquid Fear by Zygmunt Bauman.
It was believed that modernity was going to be that period of human history in which, finally, the fears that gripped the social life of the past would be left behind, and human beings could control our lives and dominate the unpredictable forces of the social and natural. And, on the other hand, at the dawn of the 21st century, we live again a time of fear. Fear is the term that we use to describe the uncertainty that characterizes our modern liquid age. Our ignorance of the specific threat looming over us and our inability to determine what we can and what cannot to do counter it.
And fear is the more fearful when it is diffuse, unclear, when it floats free, no ties, no anchors, no home, no shared causes, and it is ubiquitous. And the state can no longer guarantee the protection of its subjects against today's threats.
Every day there are new global alerts about killer viruses, killer waves, killer drugs, killer meat, killer iPhones, killer killers.
Let's remove the elemental ingredients of our organized and civilized life: food, shelter, clean water, and a minimum of personal security, and in a matter of hours we will be back in the Hobbesian state of nature, in a war of all against all.
Something called the Titanic syndrome is the horror of falling into decay. The main actor, although silent in the history of the Titanic, it is the iceberg. But it wasn't this that sparked the horror that made that story stand out from the multitude of stories of similar horrors and disasters. There was no evacuation plan. There was a shortage of lifeboats and floats, and the dark depth of the subarctic night. The dangers we fear so much transcend our ability to act. Our moral tales try to vaccinate us against the fear of death, trivializing the very vision of agony. They prepare us. The Greeks did this with tragedies. Huxley in A Brave New World showed how children were conditioned, vaccinated against the fear of death by inviting them to their favorite streets as they gathered around the deathbed of his elders. Something religion does is to turn that around, transform the most abhorrent of fails into the most glorious of ascents. It was a true masterpiece, not only because it served to reconcile mortals with their mortality, but it gave a life a meaning, a purpose.
That move turned the destructive power of death into a formidable power that enhances life. It hooked the dead horse to the chariot of life.
The precariousness of human ties is perhaps the most characteristic feature of liquid modern age. It is impossible to meet one without meeting the other at the same time. What we fear is bad, and what is bad causes us fear. Many of the agents serving Eichmann, his butchers, and Eichmann himself were people like us. Primo Levi explained, there is no doubt that each of us can potentially become a monster.
It would be better for all of us, more comforting and comfortable, to believe that evil is nothing but the devil. The bad news, however, is that Eichmann was not the devil. He was an ordinary man, blunt, and not an exceptional creature, someone you will run into the street without realizing it. There has been an infinity of cases where the murderer, aggressor, never had been thought that he would be able to commit a murder. Evil can be hidden anywhere. It does not stand out from the mess or bear distinctive marks. In short, human relationships are no longer areas of certainty, tranquility, and spiritual calm. Instead, they have become a prolific source of anxiety. Far from offering a covered rest, they promised perpetual anxiety and a life of constant alert. In short, human relationships are no longer areas of certainty, tranquility, and spiritual calm. Instead, they have become a prolific source of anxiety. Far from offering coveted rest, they promised perpetual anxiety and a life of constant alert. More than in other times, today we will need and we want strong and reliable links, but we are unable to calm our suspicions and stop sniffing out possible betrayals. In superficial and fragile relationships does not make fear reduce.
We are also told how these fears are distributed, since they are not equitable. With Hurricane Katrina, the most affected were Latinos and blacks. Humberto's living, lives not worth living. As the lead continued to travel to their imaginary destination, located somewhere on the top of the world, the poor have been caught in the spiral of crime and chaos. The inconceivable, the unimaginable, have become brutally possible. The dangers we fear the most are immediate. Understandably, we also want remedies to be imminent, quick fixes.
That provide instant relief, such as ready-to-go pain relievers. We are angry with any solution that does not promise quick and easy effects. Furthermore, we are bothered by solutions that require us to pay attention to our own faults and which urge us, in the poor Socratic style, to know ourselves. And we completely abhor the idea that, in that sense, there are few or no differences between us, the children of light, and them, the leader of darkness.
There is a paradox. Fear is born from insecurity and is nurtured by it. Against all objective evidence, people living in the greatest comfort recorded in history feel more threatened, insecure, and frightened, more panicked, and more passionate about everything related to safety and security than people in almost all society, past and present. We cannot trust even the institutions that are supposed to ensure our protection. Modern individualization is the main responsible for this situation. It suggests by replacing the closely linked communities and corporations that once defined the rules of protection and their related individual rights and obligations that ensure their observance by the individual duty of self-interest, concern, and caring. Were exhorted, driven daily to take care of their own interests and satisfactions and to take care of the other people's only if they affect their own. Modern individuals believe that the other individuals around them are guided by similar selfish motivations and that, by therefore, they cannot expect more compassion or solidarity from them. In such a society, the perception that human company is a source of existential insecurity.
Since there is nothing more to turn to, people are likely to end up renouncing the notion of collectivism as a whole and use the market as an arbiter of the provision of goods and services. And markets, as well as now, act in a very different sense from that of the intentions of the social state. The market thrives when conditions of insecurity exist. Take good advantage of human fears and feeling of helplessness.
It has been left to individuals to find, detect, and practice individual solutions to socially produced problems. A good example of this is the Homer, which represents the need to move around in a city that burns and grumbles.
The conclusion that is easily drawn from all of this is that today we do not have these possibilities immediately present.
The world wants to be deceived. Odysseus and the pigs, who refused to regain their former human form because they detested the concern of having to make decisions and assumed responsibilities linked to the condition of being human. Fear or freedom by Erich Fromm or the archetype of all of the above, Plato's melancholic speculation about the tragic fate of the philosophers who try to share with those who remain locked in the cave the good news that they bring from the outside world of the pure ideas. illuminated by daylight. It is not that people shallow the story, as they say. It is that they want to be deceived. What remains is for the people to see the consequences of not taking responsibility and the hope of reaching an acceptable balance between freedom and security.